The pads are still on, and they're still getting hit. But who's making progress today? On Locked On Chiefs from St. Joe.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. It is nice to see you all. We are Locked On Chiefs, part of Locked On Podcast Network, and we are brought to you today by FanDuel. You can make everything that you want, every moment more, every playoff run that you want to get in on any other sport and get ready for this preseason right now. All customers can get a daily bonus or boost at FanDuel.com/LockedOn. You can go there and get started right now. Get hooked. Chris is hooked because he is on location up in St. Joe, having just gotten out of practice. We're going to run it down for you, everything that happened today. You can find all of his work at KC Chiefs Corner on Substack. You can find me. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. That's rapc.com, as well as NFL33.com and RGR Football on YouTube and everywhere else. A lot to come here. Thanks for making us your first listen. Check out another show. Maybe check out what the Broncos are doing because they don't know what they're doing over there. That's another show you might want to give a little listen to. And make sure that you check out the rest of the podcast network. You can get us here for free every day on YouTube, where I'd ask you to like and sub and do those kind of things because that's the way that it works. Then get on Spotify, get on Apple Music, or anywhere you get a free podcast. You can get us 5 days a week. Plus, like this, a bonus episode. You're going to get this on top of all our daily 5-day-a-week coverage. And if you want that much more and you want to know what Chris is seeing or what's going on behind the scenes, get us on the text line. Our locos, our everyday listeners are on there at 816-357-8781. I'm excited about this because I thought it started one direction, and now it looks like left tackle is starting, at least for this first couple of days of practice, to solidify. That doesn't mean there can't be a change, but what do you see going on out there between Kingsley Suamataia and Wanya Morris?
At this point right now, it sure looks like Suamataia is the left tackle one. He is taken 2 days in a row where he's been left tackle one. Obviously, Wanya took a couple of days where he was left tackle one. So maybe they're going to continue rotating. They're just giving them a couple of days in a row. But it's interesting because you have the rookie going out there and being the starting left tackle when the pads come on, and then the second day pads are on, you also have him out there as the starting left tackle. Is that going to continue? We'll see. Something I'll definitely be watching tomorrow is to see if they trot him out there for a third day in a row where he's a starting left tackle. And, you know, it was interesting because I saw Suamataia be left tackle one. I saw Wanya Morris come in as an extra lineman on a play near the goal line, and Mahomes just barely missed hitting him for a touchdown. So that was fun to see. Of course, it was as far away from me as it could possibly be. I was up on the hill where I normally am, and it was on the far field down on the goal line. So didn't get a great view of it, but Wanya Morris really gave it the old college try, I guess you would say, to try to catch the ball. It was impressive. Wasn't able to bring it in. Suamataia, then when they flipped it to the second team, also came back in as a guy that was running as an extra offensive lineman at times. So it does seem like those kind of roles are maybe what they're looking at is, you know, maybe Suamataia is going to be the starter, Wanya Morris is going to be the backup, and then he's going to be the sixth offensive lineman off the bench. Obviously, that could change once you see a guy like Tooney coming back. Maybe Caliendo's the guy that is the guy coming off the bench. He is the starting left guard right now. That's the second time in a row he's been that. So lots of questions as to whether or not that's going to continue. We'll keep you posted as much as I can, and I'm looking forward to watching it again tomorrow. I will say this: when watching one-on-one reps, Suamataia went against Chris Jones, and from what I could see, looked like he held his own for the most part on both snaps. So that's encouraging to see those two guys going at it, and Suamataia holding his own in that regard.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for as well, especially when you give me the carrot that there's going to be a sixth offensive lineman like I've been asking for I don't know 8 years, Andy, and then you tell me he goes out for a pass. I need to have something that makes me feel better. So him going against Chris and being able to still be out there, I will take that. The question for me then becomes, and folks, you shouldn't underestimate what it is to make these leaps, especially when you come in from what is a pass-happy, a true West Coast, like almost spread offense, and you're getting this grind, the jumps that you can make if you're Kingsley Suamataia. Wani didn't quite get that run as a rookie because of other guys that were in front of him. So making that race more competitive is good for both of them. But what do you need to see tomorrow to make you feel like it's getting more and more into one or the other's hands?
Well, if Kingsley's still out there tomorrow, I think that probably, I'm not going to say it cements it, but I would say that that's a pretty good sign that I think that it's going that direction. I will say, for what it's worth, I can't remember if it was Jeff or if it was Mitchell, but one of the Schwartz brothers tweeted about it, specifically about Suamataia getting the start at left tackle for the first day of HEATS. They tweeted about specifically stating that kind of tells you where the competition is going. They have a little bit of an inside track of information. They play for Reed. They have an idea as to how things rotate there. So, if that's really what's going on, it's a good sign. And at this point, if you feel like he's going to be the guy, give him as many snaps as you can get him and just get him acclimated.
Yeah, I say all gas right now, no breaks at all. That can't be said for the wide receiver group. There's a lot of guys contending right behind the big three dogs. Who's out there and who's coming up next year on the Locked On Podcast Network. You love sports just like I do, and you love them so much you never want them to stop. But the playoffs have come and go. It's baseball season, and now it's training camp. There's always something to get into the action, and wherever you want to go, you can do it with one app on FanDuel and place any bets anytime you're in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is giving away to all customers either a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com. You can even take a look at the Chiefs right now. They are plus 600 for the next Super Bowl, the three-peat Super Bowl. You can go to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer right now. There's still time left in this summer. FanDuel.com, the official sportsbook betting partner of Major League Baseball and the NFL. If you're sick of getting yelled at on ESPN or Fox Sports, come on over to Locked On Sports today. It's 24/7. And it's all of our local experts with the passion for their teams that they cover that give you the inside scoop every day all across the network. You can find it 24/7 here on YouTube and on Amazon Fire TV. That's Locked On Sports today. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. I'm excited about this part because it's got to get sorted out. And with Kadarius Toney, who I understand left practice at least momentarily, but he's taking some running back reps. That makes, I think, the competition behind the big three in Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, and Xavier Worthy wide open at this point. There's probably more guys in camp that could make this roster than there were last year when they kept 7. So what did it look like for you today? Who would you say is leading that race for 4 right now?
Man, it's going to be tough. Justin Watson not out there. Matt Derrick reported after practice that Watson was a guy that was out there at least catching passes off the jug machine with nothing on his legs. So I think that maybe he's getting close to being back. Whether or not he'll be back tomorrow, we'll see. And we'll talk more about injuries a little bit later. But I do still think he's number 4, but he's not out there right now. So again, you talk about Kadarius Toney walking off. He kind of came up after getting hit on, I believe, at 7-on-7, and I don't think the DB was trying to hit him, but it just kind of happened. One of those things where they get mixed up, and he came limping off, took his helmet off, walked around for a couple minutes, was able to come back in a little bit later in team. So I do think that he's okay, and he'll be going forward. Justyn Ross left camp for a little bit, came back, practiced. He was in there with the ones. Sky Moore, Toney were in there, but Sky Moore wasn't getting as much run as I was expecting him to with the ones. I was expecting a little bit more. Hardman and Remigio were both in there as well. It is a very deep, I hate saying deep, it is going to be an interesting competition with everybody else when you start talking wide receiver, because there are just so many on this team that are battling for so few positions. If we talk about it like we did last year and they only keep 6, if your top 4 are already spoken for with Watson, assuming that he's going to make it, then you have 2 more guys that can make it. And Toney is probably got a leg up mainly because of his contract, $2.5 million guaranteed. They don't get anything back if they cut him. And then it's a question of, Hardman, Sky Moore, Remigio, Justyn Ross, all those guys are really vying for 1 or 2 positions.
The guy that got the biggest shout out from Dave Tobe in his post practice presser was Nico. So
Yep.
what did you see from him specifically, and is he making up ground on some of the guys that are slotted behind ahead of him?
I don't know that he's exactly making up ground. I do think that he is looking very good when it comes to what he's supposed to do when it comes, as a receiver. But is he making up ground on the guys ahead of him at receiver? Probably not. But he has an advantage because he is probably looked at as one of their top 2 returners, and that is going to play into whether or not he's kept on the roster. So it's a question of, is he going to be good enough that they feel like he can be something at wide receiver if they need him to be? But I do think that his role is going to be mainly returner, and if he has to step in as a wide receiver, he will.
I'm looking to see who can jumpstart their roster spot here, and if you had to pick somebody that is in position to accelerate and catch up, maybe push Justin Watson, who I would probably slate as the 4 right now, who do you think has that in them from what you saw today?
From what I saw today, man, that's tough. Remigio, I guess, would probably be in there. He was looking good at wide receiver. I just don't know if it's really going to push anybody else off the roster. Again, I still think Kadarius Toney is stuck there at 5. I don't think that they're going to cut him with the fully guaranteed salary. Sky Moore has not really stepped in, so I don't think that that's going to be something. I would expect he's either. I can't imagine they get a ton traded for him, but I can't imagine he's going to be on the roster. So it would not surprise me to see him cut this year. He's got to do stuff in the preseason, and that's really the only place he can. And one of the things that plays into this is watching the punt return team. The interesting thing was Hardman was taking the number 1 snaps at punt returner. So is that a question of whether or not he's going to be stepping into a potential returner role at that point? I didn't really see a ton from him at the wide receiver position today. But again, it's one of those things to watch for when they get into special teams units, whether it's kickoff, which they didn't really do today. It was mostly punt return. Who takes the snaps, when they take the snaps. Hardman was 1, Remigio was 2. I think Toney was 3. And then you get into Washington, I think it was 4. And I saw Brown back. Oh, no, sorry. It was Hardman, then Remigio, then Worthy, then Toney, and then Washington, and then Hollywood, I think, caught 1 or 2 punts, but that's about it. And I know we're not talking about him, but good grief, that leg. Ariza's leg is ridiculous.
Hey, it's a plus to have it, especially hopefully the few times that you have to punt the ball away. Breaking just now, Nazeeh Johnson has had an issue with the hamstring, so it wasn't necessarily the knee. It's a soft tissue. Might be a connected issue. A lot of times you compensate for what that injury is. Justyn Ross, it looks like he'll be back tomorrow. No reported issue right now. So let's keep an eye on Nazeeh Johnson, though. We'll talk more about him there. But back to Kadarius Toney, I think obviously they still feel that he has upside. They're trying to use him in more ways. I agree. He's going to be on the roster unless something happens that makes him tradable. But it's interesting that you mentioned Hardman. They gave up a draft pick for Hardman last year because they needed somebody who knew the offense, who could step in and play the role. Yes, he's got quirks, but I would say at this point, especially if he's taking the kicks as the first guy, that's got to put him squarely on the roster, does it not?
I don't know that Hardman is squarely on the roster, and I say that because, again, looking back at what I saw today, when you talk punt return, yes, he's number 1 at punt returner, but Remigio was number 2. If Remigio is going to be a guy that they're going to keep for kickoff return, which they didn't seem to practice at all today, so I'll be watching for that tomorrow to kind of see the rotation, then I think that he can be the punt returner, and that would be what I would expect. The thing about Hardman, and here's what I would say about that is, go back and look at who they had on the roster last year. They didn't have Hollywood Brown. They didn't have Xavier Worthy, and Rashee Rice was just coming on. So to me, yes, they needed Hardman to get through the season because they didn't have the receivers that they do this year. Are they going to keep? I mean, they had Sky Moore, who wasn't doing much last year. MBS wasn't being very productive. So they brought Hardman back to try to get something that could be a guy. Is it possible he makes the roster? Yeah, it's possible. But then he's going to have to kick off a guy like Remigio because, again, like you said, and I agree with, Toney is probably squarely on this roster regardless of whether or not he really maybe deserves to be, because they like his talent and because his contract is guaranteed.
It does make a difference. And in order to to go above and beyond and make that leap, you got to do something above and beyond. Justin Ross had a giant leaping catch well above what is normal yesterday. The guy that threw it to him is not somebody we see every week. What's the difference at the backup QB spot, and what does it mean for the rest of this roster, as well as the injury report coming up next? Summer's in full swing, and we're getting ready for football season. It doesn't matter whether you're trying to go to MLB right now and go see the Royals, or you're waiting on your preseason tickets, your Chiefs tickets for the regular season, or even those cold, snowy days. The best way to get it done is Game Time. It helps if you can plan. I fully admit that, but sometimes you just can't. And so last-minute deals are exactly what you're looking for, whether it's the section of the stadium that you want, whether it's the seat exactly that you want, or whether you're just looking for that last-minute super saver. You can save up to 60% on tickets last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, anything at Game Time. This is really important. I sit in one section of Arrowhead, and I really love it. It's a zone deal, and when that comes up, I try to go all in because they give you all in pricing with no hidden fees. It takes the guesswork out of getting tickets for Arrowhead, but for baseball as well. You can get it all at Game Time. So download the Game Time app, create your account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL. You're going to get $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply, but it's super simple. Create an account. Use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you're going to get $20 off of your first ticket purchase. So download it today. It's last-minute tickets. It's lowest prices, and they are always guaranteed. As we wind down this extra bonus edition, make sure you like this video. Make sure you sub to the channel here on YouTube and get us subscribed over on Spotify and on Apple Music and anywhere you can get a free audio podcast. You can get us. This week, we're going to do what? 14 shows in a row? 14 days in a row, you'll have something from us. Plus probably some bonuses as well. So we appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you're in every day and get on that text line too at 816-357-8781. Now, I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill because knock on wood, we should never see Carson Wentz on the field come the regular season. But one of the guys
I disagree with that, but
in the last segment. Okay. You got special use cases? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I just want to see blowouts. I want to see Mahomes. I want to see Wentz on the field because we have blowouts. And I get what you're saying, and I agree with you. Well, that's fair. I'm not so sure that the Raiders should be taken out of context. I think that there should be a blowout there, and maybe two of them. But we'll see. When it comes to Carson Wentz, I think the thing that really sticks out to me is he just looks so much more comfortable in this offense than I ever saw Gabbert. Now, granted, I will say I didn't see Gabbert when I was there, and I didn't go to training camp last year, so I didn't see camp. But from what I've seen at camp, Wentz looks a lot more comfortable than I ever saw Gabbert look on the field during the preseason games last year. So to me, I think that this is going to be a big upgrade for Kansas City. He's got a, I'm not going to say it's a huge arm, but he's got a big arm. So he is able to make all the throws that you want a QB to be able to make. And he has a lot of starting experience in the NFL. I think that's a bonus for Kansas City, even more so than Gabbert did. So I think you look at this, I think that this is a situation where if Wentz wants to stay in Kansas City long-term, I think that this could be a great spot for him, and he could be Mahomes' backup for years to come.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, nothing against Gabbert. What I saw in camp last year was a guy who'd never played in the offense before. He was trying to learn it. He had a skill set. Okay, great. This is different. Wentz is like, he's like that last lifeboat on the Titanic. You know it's going to float because he's been here before and it's been in the water. And if you have to go to it, I think that's what this is all about, is it's stealing this team for if the worst happens, can you still work towards a Super Bowl? Because I would put Wentz's arm plus minus right around, I would say just a touch better than Alex Smith's was when he was in this offense. So that proves to me he can deliver the ball where it needs to be in this offense if he has to play.
Yeah, no, I absolutely can. And I think that when you watch the command he has of this offense and you watch him on the field and you watch him taking snaps, no, he's not Patrick Mahomes. Nobody is. And obviously everybody knows that. But he is able to step in and he is able to be good enough with the offense. I'm really curious to see what he looks like in the preseason games when everything goes live, because that's going to make a better case for whether or not he's going to be better than Gabbert last year. And I think when you look at him stepping into this offense, you don't feel. You said it best. He knows what the offense is supposed to be. He knows what they're supposed to be doing. So whether or not he is going to be able to get it done is another question. But knowing is more than half the battle in this case. And knowing where people are supposed to be, where you're supposed to deliver the ball, how you're supposed to be looking at doing different things, that is a huge deal when it comes to an Andy Reid offense.
Yeah, it makes the world go round. That's really what it is. Now, we addressed Nazeeh Johnson a little bit ago as the news broke. Nazeeh with the hamstring injury. He was not the only one. Justyn Ross did leave the field as well. Don't have much of an update, just that he should be all right. In terms of injuries, it's been pretty good so far. I'm a little relieved, honestly. People are going to be concerned about Nazeeh with a soft tissue injury, but it's not a structural issue with the knee, and that makes me feel better. Anything else that you saw or injury-wise that you have feelings on?
No, I think I watched Nazeeh go down, and I watched him kind of limp around. And I will say, he never ran again. He basically walked off the field and then walked back. So they were on the far. They were actually on the field right in front of me on the far side of that field, and he was going on a deep route, and I can't remember who he was going against. But he came up limping as he was running down the field and walked basically over to the injury tent, got stretched out a little bit and just kind of hung around camp for a little bit, and then walked up the hill by himself. Didn't get carted up, so he was able to walk on it. Don't know how quickly he'll be back, but definitely something to watch. And it was interesting because I had a couple of reporters behind me, and they were talking about how it's the same leg that he had the ACL in, and at the time, obviously, I didn't know what it was. It could have been ankle, it could have been knee, it could have been a couple of different things. Obviously, it was a hamstring. So we'll see how that turns out. I'll be watching for that tomorrow. When it comes to injuries, I saw everybody, I think, out there except for BJ Thompson again. Both Watsons were there, but not practicing. Justin Reed came out, didn't practice. Joe Tooney was there, didn't practice. Minihue and Nazeeh as well. All of them were on the field in some capacity. Nazeeh was running several times. I saw him running on the field. Watson was running as well. So, obviously they're trying to keep their conditioning up a little bit. Watson's, if I remember correctly, Watson's was a shoulder issue. So running shouldn't be an issue for him. And Nazeeh's was also an upper body injury. So I think they should be probably good to go shortly, I would think. Pennell,
keep in shape.
Obviously still sorry, I was just going to say Pennell's the guy that's still starting at that defensive tackle spot next to Chris Jones at this time. So, and it was really fun watching him come out and fire up the crowd, and watch, Chris Jones come out and do his sack dance and fire up the crowd. And all the wide receivers ran through the top three wide receivers, Worthy, Rice, and Hollywood Brown, were giving high fives as they ran onto the field today. So that was fun too. A lot of fun getting out there for camp and seeing everything go. And looking forward to another day tomorrow.
It's going to be a lot of fun. A couple of late-breaking updates from Dave Tobe. He does say that Bucker is going to be the main kickoff guy. Okay, check. Thought that it might swing back that way. He also mentioned, in lieu of kickoff coverage, that both Curtis Jacobs and Swayze Bozeman are linebackers to keep an eye on. That tells me that Cam Jones is solidly that fourth linebacker. Jack Cochran might be pushing him a little bit, but those two would be the guys that they see playing snaps on defense rather than special teams. And he also named Jaden Hicks as a no-brainer four-phase starter, quote unquote. So I think that's pretty much a done deal. Anything that you would disagree or confirm there?
No, it's fun to watch Jaden Hicks. I should say one of my favorite parts of camp, watching the entire defense, and I mean the entire defense, all 30 or 40 players trying to get the crowd pumped up and cheering for Spags when Spags walked down the hill. It was great. Those guys love their defensive coordinator.
It's amazing what rings will do for you. Folks, that's it from training camp for today. Another show tomorrow. We will break it down for you. Chris is going to be on location. Thanks for all the eyes and ears out there, dude.
I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. Come say hi if you're there tomorrow.
Definitely say hi. Definitely make sure you like and sub. We appreciate you guys being with us today for this bonus edition, and we'll be back with you next time. Don't miss it. We'll talk to you then.